Welcome to Alt Jake Takes On. Hello again, everybody. We are back. You are listening to Alt Jake Takes On. I am Alt Jake. This is episode number 30, a very special episode. I'm here with my friend George, as always. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing great.
Awesome. So I guess we should just get right into it, shouldn't we?
This has been something in the making for a long time, so I'm happy to present the following. Our guest today is a former wrestling photographer, wrestling promoter, member of the WFIA, friend of Pete Letterberg. They took place in one of the bloodiest angles on Memphis TV. Most of you guys might know him as the co-host from the 605 podcast with Brian Last. Please welcome Howard Baum.
Yes.
Hello, wrestling world. It's an honor. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
3 out of those 6 were incorrect, but
were they really?
That's right. Well, I was the vice president of the WFIA for a brief period.
Oh, wow.
Which was actually a sham because Pete and I only ran that organization for one reason, so we could hang out backstage in Memphis. And we did it in 84 and 85. Okay. No, 85 we took it over. 84, 85, sorry. I'm already fishing. We're 2 seconds into the episode.
I love it.
But yeah, I won't tell you the other ones that are incorrect. Everything's pretty much on the spot, though. Haven't seen Pete in a while, though.
I said former.
Oh, former friend. Okay. There you go. It's okay. I have no.
I'm kidding.
I have no animosity. 3 seconds in, and I'm burying myself and other people. Back on brand. After the stress of doing the Tony Richards show, in which I had to have my shit together, now I'm free to be me. Okay.
Just letting it fly. No, that's how we operate around here. That's how we
Hello, wrestling world. And I want the public to know that I've been hanging out with these two before we got on the air. And I feel, a real comradeship with these two already. I know it's going to be a fun time. We have set the bar low as it can go. And we are going to limbo our way into your hearts. It's been quite a year, and I have no F's left to give. So for everyone out there, sit back and enjoy. I don't know where Jake's going to take us, and we're all here for it.
So I like it. No, Howard's going into all, not fall, because he's got no more F's to give. I like it.
How this all came about was we were talking way back about Cody Rhodes, and one of us mentioned a dusty finish. So my idea was to get Howard on and basically discuss the Dusty Rhodes career from Howard's point of view, like what he saw when he started seeing Dusty, what happened through his eyes. Like, how did you see his career? That's what we're kind of looking for here today.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah. The man, the myth, the legend, Dusty Rhodes. No, and I think what it was is that other people were trying to say like any kind of messed up finish was a Dusty finish. And I was like, well, no, the Dusty finish is a specific thing. And yeah, because that's one of my biggest issues with the wrestling world today and the fandom is where they're using phrases wrong. Like they're not saying them the right way. And that was, so yeah, I think that was how it came up. But yeah, I know I grabbed a few different good shots of Dusty. I figured this is a great opening one of just talking about the career spanning of just, you've got him down there with with Dick Murdoch all the way to him with his boys. Like it's a hell of a career he had, but I'm excited to hear Howard's point of view of it. So.
Yeah. Well, when I came down here to Florida, 1974, I was not a fan yet. And that's when Dusty made his big face turn. And then 74, 75, Dusty was white hot. Electricity in the building. I started going in 1975 and I saw it live. And there are some clips up if you check out 1975 Florida wrestling of Dick Murdoch, Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes around this time.
Sure.
And those films that you see, I don't know. It's kind of like seeing Led Zeppelin. It's like if you didn't experience the air and hear the people at that point in time, how can I possibly describe it to you? It's like describing fuchsia to a blind man, because I was there for Hulk Hogan pops. and it was a different animal than the Dusty Rhodes Pops. Because when Dusty came out of the back at, say, a Miami Beach Convention Center, anytime from when I started going in 1975 all the way until around 1980, it was electric excitement, lightning in a bottle. The fans swarmed on the dressing room, followed him to the ring like Muhammad Ali. Just he had such blood feuds starting in 74, 75. He was the second. He was doing all this Muhammad Ali stuff. Great pictures. Thank you. And he was doing all this. He was doing those Muhammad Ali things, and his ruby begonia fur hat and contests. And the year of the dream, then 76, the bicentennial. He got even hotter. Now it's 1976. Bicentennial of America. Everything's red, white, and blue. This is custom made for Dusty. Now he's really in his prime. So you've got 74, 75, 76. Dusty is just electric, like a white Muhammad Ali. And he's working against the likes of Gary Hart's Army, who, for my money, was the greatest heel manager that Florida ever saw. And that army consisted of, at one time or another, Dick Slater, Taru Tanaka, Bob Roop, Pak Song, Mongolian Stomper. And so I got into watching wrestling when you turn the TV on and you're seeing Mongolian Stomper.
Right.
I was a child of Famous Monster magazine and Fangoria and Godzilla and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is all that, and it's real. And it's real, like Superstar Graham in the flesh.
It's all that.
So,
like you'll see it in person. Yeah, no, that's so. Yeah, I could see how that captivates you just right away.
Oh, it was ridiculous. I saw Superstar Graham in magazines, and then I ran to the back in 1975 to get pictures of him when he came out. I'm like, I could not believe I was 4 feet away from Superstar Graham from the cover of the magazines as a kid, as a 9-year-old kid.
You're 9 years old and you're taking pictures, Howard?
Well, yeah, I didn't,
wow.
I knew where I wanted to end up.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive.
That's
called dedication, folks.
You see that a lot. You hear that with, like the legends like Cornette and Heyman, like they figured it out early and took pictures early. Howard's right in that book, like, right there.
Well, that was,
I like it.
Yeah, that's early.
That was a logical way to get in. And because I took my cues from 2 people that I saw in Miami Beach, not to get away from Dusty, but there were 2 people when you walked into the Miami Beach Convention Center, and I was already aware that there was a thing called wrestling photography because once I got into it, I started buying the magazines and everything. Right. And the photos are really what captivated me because they built the myth. You could say, oh, the Sheik's a madman. Oh, you could say Abdullah the Butcher kills and eats people for fun. But you get a Theo Eric picture from 2 feet away. There you go. Beautiful Superstar Dusty by George Napolitano up there. And you see that stuff. I mean, imagine being 9 years old and seeing Superstar Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes in a bull rope match. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, my God. You thought, man, I saw Dusty and Superstar at the Miami Beach Convention Center in 1977 on numerous occasions. And I'm telling you, it was indescribable. It's got to be the wrestling equivalent of seeing your favorite 70s group in concert, because I can't tell you what the smell, sounds, and everything was, but I sure remember it, and I could see it in my eye.
And I'm just imagining too, at 9 years old, like it wasn't like there was, there wasn't many people that looked like Billy Graham at that point either.
Oh,
with
man.
that size and that body, and I mean, he must have literally looked like Hercules to you, or just like a giant of just otherworldly being. And yeah, you can see it. You see it in these pictures, but when you see it live, that's amazing. That's awesome. I got chills thinking about it.
What was so cool that people of more recent generations will never understand is that we didn't think these people were mere mortals in the least. There was like no information. There was no internet. And all you knew about wrestling was in a magazine that said Abdullah Farouk is going to train Abdullah the Butcher to eat Jack Briscoe's liver. And that's what's going to happen. And then every town and every city would run their own wrestling and see their own TV and not know anything about anything else unless you were a fan. And then you knew a little bit. Then in the 70s and 80s, the newsletters crept up. Jeff Zinger's, sorry everyone. A little mush mouth here, a little dental surgery this year. Anywho, I'll be back instead one day. But the early zines, if you'll have it, Jeff Zinger's Dropkick, Meltzer's Observer came out of those days. Yep. I know I'm forgetting a few. Ring around the Northwest. Easy for me to say when you speak the language. By the great Mike Rogers. And we had these underground things that taught you a little bit about, there's different circuits and territories and people to look out for. And like, Pac Song broke his leg, but now he's in Milwaukee or whatever. Just a little inkling into, what might be going on, but nothing like today where, right. And like, what did Rhea Ripley have for lunch and how did it all work out? Like, I mean, right. You young people have no idea, because I'll tell you, it might have been a little frustrating, but it paid off to have to wait a week to actually be like, oh my God, what's going to happen Saturday on TV? Now that the Missouri Mauler has taken up Terry Funk's offer to cripple Dusty Rhodes in time for the world title match. And Gordon Soley's like, sorry, that's it. And the next thing you were going to see about that was next week. It was only what Eddie Graham wanted you to see. And that was what was in the magazine, and that was what was on TV, and that was what was in the arena. And that's all you knew. And if you were friends with the timekeeper or referee, that was still all you knew. Yep. Because nobody was selling and nobody was saying it. That's it. It was kayfabe. Right. And now it's like, I don't like the direction that Tiffany Stratton's whatever character is taking. Like, who the hell are you? Yeah. To book a wrestling promotion, come on. So
that's one of my biggest gripes of it is that people now have just used it where they just like, we'll just look to complain. That's all they want to do. Like, they don't care whether they liked it or not. Like, I'm trying to enjoy it still because it's an art form, or it's it's entertainment form that I've always enjoyed, and so I try to find the good in it. But it's one of those things that it doesn't, like, when someone would finally turn babyface and team up with somebody, it's not as impactful now when you've seen them making TikTok together, or knowing now it's like traveled together. Yeah.
Now they've literally, I thought it was exposing the business when like a Rock Riddle would go on Fernwood Tonight in 1978 or something, like, oh my God, he's like showing a humorous side of himself. He's like, or when Ox Baker was in Escape from New York, I'm like, if you put a wrestler in a scripted violence match type situation, doesn't that expose the whole business? Like even Paradise Alley, they had to do it for the movie. So I'm like, this is all the Amarillo workers doing wrestling scenes for the movie. So that means they're just doing like what? How do you explain that? Like, how did you get Dory Funk and Dennis Stamp to be in the ring together to film that scene when they really hate each other in real life? Right. So any kind of incursion, it's two real words. I don't know which one I was quite going for. Anything that the real world did with wrestling didn't really benefit wrestling, because there was never going to be a crossover. It was just kind of more exposing wrestling than anything else. So
and a paycheck for the wrestlers, so that makes sense. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things that I can see that how it wouldn't. And it's like here's whoever, and he's playing the role of the Miz, and he's dating this girl on TV, but he really lives with Maurice. And this guy had his eye taken out, but it's really an angle, and now he lives in, like, what? Yeah. And then they go on Johnny Carson. Sorry, no, I'm really showing my age. I love it.
Me too.
Hey,
the younger the people get, the younger people I interact with, the older my references get. So get ready for a long George Jessel story. Anyway, what did I just say? I'm like Jerry Busey here.
Yeah, Howard, when Dusty's going around, are you concentrated in the Miami area, or are you going around to different towns?
Totally Miami. We moved here in 75. I started going in 75. I started shooting ringside in 82 through 84. And all in Miami.
Okay.
That makes sense. That's awesome. And I didn't realize that guy. I knew you were from the Northeast before we connected, and then we talked.
Yeah, Jersey. Yeah,
I didn't know when you'd moved down to Miami or Florida. It was almost like it was the destined time though. If you were like right when Dusty was turning babyface and really becoming Dusty. I mean, you can see with the crowd here, just people swarming him already. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's just nuts. Yeah. I mean, they had it built up to such a fever pitch because I think every wrestling promotion has like a holy trinity. And in Memphis, the holy trinity was Lance, King, and Jimmy Hart. Because you had your ultimate heel, your ultimate announcer, and your ultimate babyface.
Right.
So then in Florida, the holy trinity was Dusty, Sully, Eddie Graham behind the scenes, and whatever top heel would be at the time. And it's I don't even know where I was going with that. So what do you guys?
Well, he didn't matter which heel it was. He was able to make it work and be an important story and make it the most important thing that he was doing. And
yes, that's what I was going for. Is like at the time, everything he was involved in had such intensity behind it because he was so over. As Bobby Heenan said, Dusty had like white heat, and he was so over that when somebody jumped him or did something to him, the revenge was going to be of epic proportions. And Gordon Soley would sell it in such a way. And Dusty, I mean, everybody Dusty worked from 1975 to 1985 until he took that act to the Mid-Atlantic, became the booker, and recycled the entire thing over again. Because what Dusty did on a national scale with the NWA and WCW and all that was what he did in Florida. And the Dusty cycle is very simple. Somebody does Dusty wrong on TV.
Right.
When the match happens, they get the jump on him and he's bloody within 2 seconds. Then, through happenstance, he makes a comeback. Then they screw him over and he might lose. And then he kicks their butt, but he doesn't officially win. And that would be the formula until that guy was done. And then it would be bull rope match, cage match. He's done. Next guy comes, repeat. What? It's not as obvious in the 70s when it's your only form of entertainment. And Missouri Mauler did something so drastic to him on TV. And you like, and then Gordon's like, well, I'll tell you what, I've never seen him like this before. And like, you have nothing to compare it to. You don't know it's fake. You know, the whole thing hasn't been exposed. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be unbelievable. And then factor in King Curtis, Terry Funk, and all their interviews. And it was a never ending who's who of the greatest giants in person in a gritty, grimy 70s grindhouse environment. And that was it, man.
You wonder where Vince McMahon got the idea to polish it up for Hulk Hogan. Like, I didn't really think of it till you just said it this way, but it's like, well, yeah, Vince just saw that and went, I'm going to polish it up, make it a little more family friendly, not be quite as bloody from right away. Damn. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Howard, you blew my mind. I'm blown. Wow.
Well, that really hurt me as a fan. Like, cause I grew up on the sports oriented, Eddie Graham, Florida wrestling. And that is, the barometer that I hold wrestling to. It's why I consider myself a wrestling snob. And a lot of my contemporaries refuse to even acknowledge the current product. I do, just to mock it and everything that it stands for. I feel that professional wrestling died and ended. One day I'm going to hold a funeral for it, like Howard Stern would do for one of his radio rivals back in the day. I don't know exactly the date that wrestling died, but I know it did. And it has been replaced. And they have gaslit the people into saying that today's sports entertainment is just a natural evolution of what Lou Thesz and Dusty Rhodes. No, shove it up your ass.
There you go.
Well,
nicely said.
The only way I'll say it's a natural evolution, because I feel the same way a little bit about, like, well, the NFL isn't the NFL anymore. It's not the NFL I fell in love with, and I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to. And same with like Major League Baseball. I used to be the biggest fan, but now like there's the DH in both leagues, which is terrible. And then there's, you can't, they've got after the 10th inning, you get the ghost man on second or whatever, like those. So I get it. Like, it's the same kind of idea. And like, I still try to enjoy wrestling where I can, but I definitely have to like take my hat off of when I used to believe it was real. I mean, I found it in the early 90s, but I didn't even know there was dirt sheets and all that stuff until I was probably in high school and got to the internet age. So I had a little beautiful period of growing up where I was I thought it was real. I used to get in fights with my dad about it and tell him that I thought it was real. And he just the point in his eyes of like, oh God, my kid's an idiot.
Yeah. Maybe you could check out a nice technical school or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I get it because I did, as much as I enjoy it now, I loved it so much more then that I was willing to defend it against my father,
Yeah.
Because I believed. And like you said, Dusty would get blood. Like he was smart about it. Get the blood early, wear something so it could be seen. And then the only time he ever wore the shirts was when he knew he was going to bleed, and he would have it on him so that you could feel for him and connect to him. And like I was glad I could get this picture in black and white to be on YouTube's good side, because there was a lot of pictures of Bloody Dusty that were that I didn't want to get in trouble.
They don't allow that? Oh my God.
No, they allow it. Just they don't like too much gore.
What's so weird?
Too much of it, so I try to go black and white.
You know what's so weird? We're talking about the differences in generations, and people of a certain age will realize that it's kind of such a sterile, sad corporate experience to go to your Costco arena and see a band for $500 where you can't even smoke weed or stand up. Because in my day, and I know George will double me on this, if you've been to one concert in the 70s or 80s, is that it used to be a weed-filled,
smoke-filled,
toned, audio and visual extravaganza of all kinds of people getting stoned, throwing up, drinking, rushing the stage, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. Now it's like, you get frisked on the way into the building. They take a check to see if you're going to get triggered by stimulating images of strobe lights or whatever triggers the kids these days.
Well,
so
I saw 9 Inch Nails a couple weeks ago. They weren't so bad. Everybody had the vape pens. There was a lot of you could tell it was weed vape pens. That's what they moved to.
Jake, you seem like a cool guy, and I really feel sorry for you that you're so young that you missed out, because I mean, when it comes to
43, so I
you missed it though. You're just you're in that spot, Jake, where you just missed it. That's all.
Isn't that weird? Fine. You don't look 43, by the way, but isn't that? I thought you were way younger. But you know what?
I appreciate it because I don't have kids.
Thank you. Oh, I love this guy. Listen, folks, let's serious aside here for a minute. Everybody, just shut up a second. Before we went on the air, I have so much in common with Jake. Before even starting to try to do a show, we both have roots in East West Orange, New Jersey. We both enjoy the same out-of-class activities. And whatever you just said that I completely forgot.
No kids.
Yes, no kids. Thank you. To all the young people, please, you're going to listen. Everyone my age has been divorced 2 or 3 times. Their kids are all fucked up. Listen to me. Swear to you, this is a PSA from me and Jake to you. Don't do it. You don't really need to do it. If you're a guy, don't even think about it till you're 35, 36. You're not developed yet.
You're right. Seriously. Yeah. And I didn't get married till I was 35. Yeah.
Don't get hooked into any kind of timetable or anything. It's not a competition. If you don't feel it, don't do it. Everyone I know has been through it. Now they have kids, no wife, new girlfriend. Cut out the middleman and get right to the old age part without all that needless drama in the middle. I avoided it. I made some dumb moves in my life, but that's one of the best things I ever did.
Cool. Hey, Howard, I'm gonna get us back on sort of track here for a second.
Do it.
When you're there, what kind of houses is Dusty drawing in the area, and how what is he's obviously the main draw.
Like
what kind of
4,000 a week in general, like 3 to 4 to 5,000 a week in Miami and Tampa. And I would imagine Jacksonville was a good town, and I think Orlando was a smaller building, and West Palm would have been 3,000 ish. But I think Tampa and Miami were probably the 2 biggest towns, I would say.
So he's making some money.
Oh yeah, I did it in my head for just like one town, and it's like 4,000 times 10 a week times one town, and they weren't even, the Florida guys didn't even make good money. it's all coming out like after the fact that Eddie Graham really didn't like to pay people. So
there's a good crowd shot.
yeah, that was a Key West show, I believe.
Okay.
I don't have my glasses on, but I think I know that photo from Key West.
I like that. That's awesome. That's everybody standing and there's just a full packed house. I love it.
I'm kind of doing a setup for this next question because I know you've told the story before. You've met Dusty before, right?
Briefly in different ways, like yeah. Like
can you tell the one story about the autograph?
Well, yeah.
No.
I'm just trying to think of something I can balance it with, but I'll balance the story before I tell it with this. That I think Dusty was a really complicated guy. And I think, I saw something that the great Mickey Dolenz said that I think was very wise from the Monkees. And he said, I realize that the people don't like me, Mickey Dolenz. They like Mickey from the Monkees. They're not interested in me or my life. They like that guy on TV. And I think that's what Dusty suffered from, because he was not authentic. He was not authentically Dusty Rhodes. That was a character. Same for Ric Flair. But somebody like Terry Funk really was Terry Funk. That's why Terry Funk was so cool. So I think it's a combination of disdain for the fans and, treating them as marks, right, but also realizing that they don't love him. They love this character that he invented. And thus it's like, you don't even know me, so I'm not going to take my time out. But Howard Brody was a good friend of mine, and he was the author of Dusty's biography. And he told me a lot of heartwarming stories where you could see Dusty's real side and his human side. Like he played a little rib on Howard when they were hanging out they were stayed over Dusty's sister's house somewhere in Georgia, because Howard was working on Dusty's book at the time. And so Dusty goes to Howard, you can have the good room. You sleep down here. And I forgot if he put him on a bed or a couch or whatever, but he turned all the air in the house to like freezing, like whatever floor Howard was on, he just turned it to like icicles. And so in the morning, Dusty's like, did you sleep good, baby? That kind of thing. So he did a rib, and like, he was more good natured. He was aware of his weight and everything. He goes to Howard, what did he say? He goes, we're not fat. We're BBW or something like that. He's like, I forgot the word he said, but he was aware of it. He's like, you and me were both extra size, whatever it is, the way that he put it. I wrote it down
the way only Dusty could.
I wrote it down at the time for my memoirs, but I don't remember the exact words. But so knowing that, what happened was, this is a typical fan interaction. I've seen him be really nice. I've seen him be nice to me when he didn't know who I was. I just walked up to him. He posed pictures with me. He was more than nice. So it's not like he's always like this, but he's kind of famous for being not nice to fans. So I think it was 2009 in Charlotte. This is what the people want, the dirt. All right. So it's not a horrible story, but it's kind of funny. So I was talking to Sir Oliver Humperdinck and Dickie Slater, two of my childhood idols, there at the bar in Charlotte. Nobody was really around, and Dusty comes out, and nobody's around. So Humperdinck is like, Howard, you know Dusty? And I'm like, no, he doesn't really know me. Like, and I'm like, I'm not going to overstay my welcome. I'm just going to do a Costanza and say hi and leave on a high note. So a fan comes up, like a nice middle-aged gentleman, and he goes, Dusty, I'm such a big fan of yours. I've been watching for 20 years. Can I just get an autograph? And Dusty goes, yeah, in about 20 minutes for $25.
Oh.
And he walks right away from the guy, and the guy was like standing there with his mouth open. And so I was in between Humperdinck and Dusty as Dusty was approaching Humperdinck, and I already knew I wasn't going to stick around because I didn't want to. Those guys all knew each other, and I didn't want to be, encroach on them. So I go, what a baby face. After he said that to the guy, I go, what a baby face. And Dusty like half smiled, and he goes, I am a baby face, and kept walking. So it's like he acknowledged it, that he was kind of a dick, but he was cool about it in acknowledging it, I guess.
That's funny. I didn't know. I hadn't heard that. That's funny. That's a good story.
Yeah, I set that one up. I knew.
I appreciate that. No, that's like I said. No, that's good. Yeah, this was your conversation, George. I'm just along for the ride, having fun. This is great. I'm enjoying all of this. That's good.
Yeah. So hit me with stuff. I have no agenda.
How long did the ride last for him? Obviously, you said now you're 10 years old or 9 years old when you first get there. When's the tipping point? Or tipping point would be the word. Sure.
You mean, okay, so like in 1980, I believe, was the last great year for Florida. If you want to look at the lineups and the cards, at any given time, still in 83, okay, I started shooting ringside in 82, 83, 84.
Okay.
And that was not the level of talent that you would see. It was still world-class professional wrestlers, but not the same excitement that we had in 78, 79, 80. But if you go into 85, 86, 87, it's horrendous compared to 82, 83, 84.
Okay.
All I'm saying is it got worse and worse through the years, and I really resent the earlier photographers and the people that are a little older than me, because I got to shoot ringside. Yes, I did in 1982, but I so envy people like Paul Bauman and the great Don DeLeon, who shot ringside at Miami when I was a mere tyke, and they shot all those people that I talked about before: Dusty in his prime, King Curtis, Abdul the Butcher, when there was kayfabe, and it was like Andre the Giant. And like, these were mythical creatures brought to life, and they shot them. And in my era, we had some great workers that I shot up close. Wyndham and Flair, Wyndham and Jake Roberts. Barry Windham was the workhorse of Florida from when I was up close ringside. I saw him in more good physical, grueling matches than probably any other worker in the world. And I could tell you people that Barry Windham easily did the best work of his career in front of no TV cameras in Florida in 82, 83 against the likes of Jake, Leroy Brown, anyone else that you would put him in there with, Harley Race, Ric Flair, anybody.
Yeah, that's why that's why he got called up to the big leagues.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so funny about a lot of guys that like Buzz Sawyer, I consider in the same league. Because if you ever saw Barry Windham or Buzz Sawyer on a show in the early 80s, you would be talking about it the next day that their match was the best match, and they would be at such a different level of action. And by the time they got into the big leagues, they were great, but they were 70% of what they were when they were young and hot and coming up and really fighting for it,
Yeah.
Right. They'd used up most of the bump card. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard to say as great as they were, but I swear to God, I've seen Wyndham in way better matches in Florida on the regular than when he was doing these acclaimed matches for the NWA. As great as they are, we saw the same quality every week in Miami and all over the state.
You were spoiled.
Yeah.
But that's funny that you say that you're jealous of the generation before you. So even with me, I missed out. Everybody, there's always something with it. So that's just funny that's the tie that binds.
Very true. Very true. I can only imagine the future. It's like, we're all going to be just like NI heads, just sending our emojis to each other. No one even leaves the house anymore.
Right.
This is my,
Yeah, they stopped using words. They only use emojis. That's where it's going to go.
Fast forward 40 years, girls are just going to be walking around naked with all you're going to see for a head is two big lips. And everyone's going to be famous for 1 minute on Instagram.
The two lips and the big Botox forehead. I think that's.
Oh my God. What a generation of freaks we have wrought.
Yeah, no, we did it to ourselves. To ourselves.
You sure did. Okay. What is this? So far, the young have ruined No, it's not even the young. Okay, it's what you guys are used to, and you don't even know any different. And I don't include
Put
you.
me into the you guys category. I'm
No,
older
no,
than
no,
you
I know,
are.
I know. You are one of us, Jake, in spirit, and I mean,
yeah.
but it's so sad because I talked to my young cousin, who's into like mumble rap and all this. I'm like, hey,
God.
you know, I don't think there's the resources in the universe to convince you how cool David Lee Roth was in 1984.
Yes, I saw him live in concert. Thank you.
I mean, it's just a different world now. And that's for the same reason. I can't tell you why Dusty Rhodes and King Curtis was better than John Cena and whoever. I'm sorry, you had to be there. And if you guys embrace your current stuff, I should say then good and more power to you, but I won't because you're wrong and it sucks.
Yeah, but if they enjoy it, I'm okay with it of them, and they have fun. It's just like, you know, it's one of those things that it's never gonna be the same. It's you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube because I can still remember like that feeling of when I was probably somewhere around 11 or 12, and I've been watching wrestling for when I stopped defending it because I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe that's not real. Like you say, but. You know, because it's just,
you know, the thing, I don't think I ever had a problem. I don't think it was ever a question of, is it real? To me, the question was, what is the deal with these guys? Because you had like two type of wrestlers. And I'm like, one I thought was really cool. Your Bob Roop, Steve Kern, Dick Slater, tan, athletic looking guy. That's how all the ex-wrestling promoters used to talk. You know, somebody's an ex-sports coach or something from the 60s or 70s if they call it an athlete.
Yeah, athlete.
You look at Eddie Graham or Bill Watt. He's a tremendous athlete. So anyway, I digress.
It's good. No, it's a good one.
So Howard, who do you think was Dusty's best?
Terry Funk, Abdul the Butcher, King Curtis.
Okay, nice.
Those Superstar Graham, Ric Flair.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of the Terry Funk match with Dusty and the Flair matches with Dusty, but I don't think I've ever seen did you send us the King Curtis match?
Me?
In those three matches you gave us to watch?
Ooh, I don't know.
No, I have the list
okay.
here. It was Terry Funk and 2 Superstar, but I ended up watching I went down the YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah.
My previously watched on YouTube was like nothing but Dusty for like 2 weeks. So my algorithm has a lot of Dusty in it, which I'm very thankful for. Honestly, it's always good stuff.
Yeah, it was you know, the one thing that won't come across, and George will back me up on this, is that the 70s was just a very funky time, and the 80s was a really cool rock and roll time. Yeah. We used to, and this is what I was getting to before, Jake. I don't know, like, you know, how people meet each other these days, but we used to spray our hairs, put tight jeans on, listen to White Snake in the car, and go out and drink and meet somebody, and it would either become something or not. But that's how we did it. And like, I don't understand it used to be an event to go out, and I don't see young people like going out. We used to have like rock clubs, God forbid, and I don't know what the logical equivalent to that is today, because I don't think the young people go out in the same way.
Well, yeah, they started charging like $20 for drinks, and everybody was like, "Screw that, I'm staying home." Luckily, I met my wife before that. No, my wife and I, before they became too expensive, concerts were our thing. We used to go to a bunch of concerts at like smaller venues, mid-sized venues, but now they've become so pricey and not as fun. We pretty much only go to nostalgia shows. So I totally
and you know, everyone that I'm into is a nostalgia show.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Where I'm at.
I consider new music Stone Temple Pilots. Like everything. I was really in my prime in the 80s is when I was in my 20s. But everything I like is the 70s. Like the 70s is just my vibe. It's like, so I like all the music from the 70s. Zeppelin, Purple, Sabbath, etc. But
can't go wrong.
It's just in every field. Entertainment has gotten a little more transparent, because in the olden days, like in my mother's time, it was probably like, oh, Dorothy Lamour is having an affair with Clark Gable. Like, I mean, like there was no, they could cover up whatever they wanted, and it's just a natural progression. But in those days, a star was a star, and they could be protected. Now a star has nowhere to run because everyone in the world has a camera. And so this behind the scenes and the need for content and DVD extras and such, to include some added value into your package, is that everything has been ultra exposed to the nth degree. And wrestling happily devoured itself doing that. Wrestling cannibalized itself in the late 90s. And even Gordon Soley gave it his authorization. I said, what do you make of all this in 1998? And he's like, I love it. The people are into it because they feel like they're a part of it. They feel like they know what's going on now. And he said the same thing that all the old timers say to me. I go, but you spent all this time protecting kayfabe. And he's like, they didn't, in the end, they didn't care.
Yeah. Well, because they're still making, it was always about making money. I feel like what I still always look at it as the move from regional to national. Like, even like you said with Dusty, why, like, because it was the same. I mean, even you said it was the same stuff that he did in Florida, but that he then did nationally, that redid it. And it was never going to be, you have to homogenize it a bit to make it, anything for the masses is always a little bit, dumbed down, unfortunately. I used to live in LA, and I worked, or I knew people that worked in like writing and stuff, and they would be basically, we try to do this at no higher than an 8th grade level. If you're writing for like broadcast television, you're trying to dumb it down. That's how they would do it. You don't want to write higher than an 8th grade level because not everyone's going to get it. And you want to be able to, this is back. I lived in LA in the like early 2010s. So like back when people still watch TV to a point when you still could get 5 to 10 million viewers. Now it's like, now if you get 1 to 3 million viewers, it's a major show because everybody's consuming content different. It's kind of like you said, it's the instant gratification that they've shortened it down to where everything's, you got to get everything. You got to get it quick. You got to get it now. Even like George and I talk about, sometimes people they stop needing to be, they used to want to be right and not want to be first. And now they want to be first and they don't care about being right. And we can't go back to the we could.
You know what's really weird, and I mean, somebody like George can totally attest to this, is I don't know what has happened to civility and manners and courtesy, because in my short little lifetime, I've seen people go from respecting the police and being mindful of teachers and parents and afraid of getting in trouble to like staring an adult in the eye and telling them to go fuck themselves. And what are you going to do, bitch?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It used to be in the old days, if somebody would cut you off 50-50, you either get a bird or an apology. These days, they try to run you off the road a second time for bringing it to their attention.
I held the door for a woman yesterday going into the store, and she looked at me like I was from outer space and said, "Thank you."
Guys, what is happening?
No, I don't know. I'm glad that I feel like I'm from the last generation that still had that to a point. Because when I was growing up, you never would have done that. A lot of it I feel like is that changeover from the analog to digital, that people just were able to get behind a screen and become anonymous.
Yeah,
and they just started doing that in the real world, especially after the pandemic. Like they came out of the pandemic, and I said this all the time, like people forgot how to people. Like you forgot how to be a human goddamn being. What the hell?
Yeah.
They just started to be, my wife and I went out to a theater show like 7 weeks after like the pandemic had lifted, you could go out again. And there was like clear signs, like don't bring your food or drink into the theater, and like trying to still be social distancing. And I sat there watching people, like I watched a bunch of like, most of them were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, like trying to go through like, oh, I didn't realize it meant me. Like, oh, the sign. Like, and people just, they got away from it and they just forgot how to be a human and they don't care anymore. And it's sad. Like, I'm with George. I've done that too, where I hold the door and people look at you like you to quote a Cornette line, like you've got steam and turds hanging out of your mouth because you hold the door open. And I'm like, always held doors open, man or woman. If you're within that like distance behind me, I'm just gonna open the door for you. I did it the other day at the gas station. This younger guy looked at me like I was like, oh, thanks, man.
And God help you if you expect it. If you expect any kind of common decency. I mean, I walk around all the time. Just I got tired of it, of reminding people that we live in a society.
We did, but
It happens. It happens.
it was a nice society we had there.
I'm telling you, man. Hey,
with
old man screaming at clouds has a lot of validity to it, man.
Well-
you know, you could say progress, but I'm telling you, man. I mean, within my lifetime, and I only shudder to think what it's going to be like in the future because
That will be dead.
we're just becoming really anti. I mean, just as a race, we're becoming antisocial because. And I think you nailed it, is that when you're behind your phone, you kind of feel like you have the support of every one of your friends and admirers and followers behind you. Like, oh, I have 1,600 followers. So if I run this guy off the road, they're going to be on my side or something. You know, I really think they think like that because they're like, you know, like, oh, this is real life. That doesn't count. I'm on my phone. And, you know, and I see it. I mean, I see people driving 35 miles an hour in the left lane on the highway down here, and I honk them, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, mind your own business, asshole. I'm like, are you kidding me? And it's and people are like, leave him alone. Like, leave him alone. This is the downfall of our society in real time. This must be called out.
Howard, I wanted to ask you something. How did you end up in Memphis?
Oh,
you're growing up in Miami and you're watching Dusty Rhodes and stuff. How did Memphis come into the equation?
Well, this is when I actually was a friend of Pete Letterberg. Not that I'm not. I wish you all the best, Pete.
Nice.
No, I'm serious. I do. I'm old. I bear no grudges to anybody. He called me out when he didn't need to. I retorted. It's over to me. I have no reason to be friends with certain people, even though they want a Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin reunion. Sometimes it's best to just walk away and say, okay, I don't care. Anywho, God, you guys are getting a lot. You guys are getting a lot out of me today. I gotta admit. It's what happened since I quit therapy. It all comes out. So, okay. So I owe Pete Letterberg a tremendous debt of thanks after saying all that. He was my unofficial big brother in wrestling. He introduced me to various promotions. He was an avid tape and picture collector. He showed me his voluminous collections and stuff and got me into a whole bunch of underground stuff and tape traders. And he was part of that old guard of names that you would see in the back pages of fanzines and magazines like Pete Letterberg, Barry Rose, Paul Abenante, you know, all these names that you would see of the people who became the fans, the background network of all these, of what became the internet smarts and blah, blah, blah. So Pete Letterberg had always been a member of the WFIA when it was in its full glory, run by the great Don Wilson, the Robert Mitchum of professional wrestling, and Dave Supermouth Dave Drayson. That's when I was first aware of them, and we went to a taping in Memphis. Pete drove me up there. I was 17, and we went to a taping in Memphis in '83, and Don Wilson and Dave Brzezinski were representing the WFIA as the two leaders of it at the time, and they did an angle where it was the Fabulous Ones and the Grapplers, but somehow those two guys got involved in it, and they got beaten down by the Grapplers, and it was kind of a tradition that every year the WFIA would go to Memphis. They had been there a couple times. I don't really know what their whole circuit was, but I know they were in Memphis a couple times, and it was kind of like a tradition because Memphis is so fly by the seat of your pants that I've literally seen Jerry Lawler come up with something and tell Dutch Mantell, and then Dutch Mantell went and said it on TV. I was literally in the back room where they did that, at the desk. They take the news desk and they put it backstage at the Memphis TV studio. Right. And that's where all the guys hang out and get dressed. So the news desk is there, and that's the dressing room right behind the curtain that you see. So Lawler and Mantell are there. And anyway, I digress, but King gave Mantell something funny to say, and he went out and said it. So what happened was, in 1984, and I was a mere pawn in this. I was only involved because I was friends with Pete. Pete, I saw an opportunity to take over the WFIA from Don Wilson and Dave Brzezinski. And I'm 17, 18 now. And Pete's the big macher in the wrestling world, you know? So I'm like, okay, fine. I just wanted to hang out in Memphis again. Don Wilson was buying a 17-year-old me, wild turkey and Cokes. I was getting so drunk, I was like breaking the glass every time I put it down. Oh, it was the beginning of such a glorious period. Because when you're young, everything you see, you have the whole world in front of you. And I'm in Memphis, and like we're in the same room as Jerry Lawler and Man Mountain Link and all this stuff. And Jimmy Hart, oh, he's so classic. All the Memphis guys are so great in real life. Lance, Jimmy Hart, Jerry Lawler, Eddie Gilbert. They're all exactly what you would think they are. And I knew Eddie Gilbert when he was okay. Like I didn't know him when he had a bad rep or anything. He was great when I knew him. And so what had happened was during the interim, Pete is like, for some reason, Don and Dave are not going to do the WFIA. Why don't we take it over? And let's put out a half-assed newsletter and a bulletin and the basic requirements, and then we can go hang out in Memphis again.
Sure.
Hence, we got about 18 people gathered together. We all had a great time. We convened in 1984, and now it was me and Pete as the president and vice president of the WFIA. I was out there like a deer in the headlights, and we did one of the greatest angles of all time that I had nothing to do with, the WFIA Tag Team of the Year Award.
Yep.
Tommy Rich and Eddie Gilbert, WFIA Tag Team of the Year Award. You guys can insert it. You guys can look it up on your own. I am merely an asterisk to this story, but I mean, it was so mind-blowing that it made me want to have a career both in broadcasting and wrestling just by standing out there with Lance Russell leading me through a damn angle. And believe you me, I had no idea that Tommy Rich was going to come out there and any of that was going to happen.
Yeah, I've seen this. This is awesome. This is awesome to watch. I've seen this, and this is fun. This is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, if you pro tip, the only reason that you see me over Eddie Gilbert's shoulder for a lot of this angle is because I didn't want to lose my camera time, and I made the conscious decision to step up on the riser because I looked at the monitor. And cautious viewers will see that I checked to see where I was, and I knew that I was in frame. And not being particularly smart at the time, I still gave perfect facials to Eddie Gilbert's controversial statements. From bewilderment to outright anger, I showed it all. And then when they came out and Eddie gave me the you could see it, he gives me the award. I'm like, okay, thank you. And I see Tommy Rich out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, whoa. And I backed because he punched him, and I backed up onto the riser and almost like fell, which would have really been cool. And then, but the best was before my primary memory of that was before the angle. I was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Pete's like, don't worry about it. We got it all covered. Because Pete came up with the angle with Eddie Gilbert. Pete claims that he came up with the angle on his own and presented it to Eddie Gilbert, and they wouldn't let me know because they wanted to preserve the real reaction, which I think was the right move.
Absolutely.
And so he's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm out there like I can't even feel my body. I see these giant fill lights and everything, and we're on TV with Lance Russell, and the crowd's yelling. And I'm like, what is happening? And I hear Lance go, and WFIA Representative Pete Letterberg, you know, the Mr. Calm backstage. He's like, it's just a pleasure to be here in Memphis. Pete has a spaz attack. The first thing he says after telling me how to be calm the whole time, it's just a pleasure to be here in Memphis, Lance. I'm like, this is my rock. This is the guy that was the calm before the storm. Yeah. So I'm mortified. And he goes, and Howard Baum, and now I have complete lockjaw. And like somebody in the crowd screaming. It gives me enough strength to like acknowledge them and go, yeah, big wrestling fans. Yeah. Barely I had such lockjaw. It was ridiculous. Like it was an out of body experience.
No, I can see like looking to him for any type of help. And you
yeah. I'm like, well, he's going to lead me. And then he turns into a puddle in front of me on live TV. But
like, thanks for shitting the bed, bud.
I don't want to crap on Pete because,
no,
and then we did it, and then we did it again in '85, and instead of us doing the traditional WFIA does an angle, I think that the booker, what's his name, the other assassin, not Jody Hamilton, but Renesto, Tom Renesto was the booker, and his horrible son Tom Branch was working there at the time, managing Bowtie the Witch Doctor. And we were like, what are we going to do this year? Because it was like taken for granted. You know, they owe it to me as a 19-year-old person not in the business to have an angle. So I'm like, what are we going to do this year? And they're like, we'll let you know. And Pete kept making me ask Lance. I'm like, why am I asking Lance? I'm like, nobody. Yeah. I go up to Lance in between commercials like, hey, what are we doing? He's like, I don't. And to his credit, I mean, that didn't even get Lance mad. Greatest man in the history of the world. And we were taping this on the anniversary of his death. Never heard a bad word about him. We're taping this on the anniversary of his death. It just happens to be. Oh, wow. And I want to tell you people that was the greatest man that I probably ever met. Definitely 1,000% through wrestling, but just what you see is what you get with him. He is 1,000% real. Greatest guy. And so in '85, guess who won the pony? Instead of us doing a reprise of our famous Rock and Roll Express impression, me and Pete were relegated to the sidelines. And who comes out and does the angle for the WFIA that year but Tom Renesto? Because I guess they saw the previous year's action. And King or Lance up on screen said, screw this. And King or Lance was probably like, sorry, kid.
No days. That's funny. I mean, like, there's certain people in this world that you're just like, no, that's just an act. Like, that's the definition of just like a man. Like, that's what Lance was. And that makes, that's all.
Who was better, Lance or Gordon?
Here's the thing. Lance for Memphis.
A tough question.
Lance for Memphis. I mean, Lance from Memphis. Come up with any analogy you want for whatever's perfect in the world. Jesus and God, whatever you want to do. Gordon in Florida, same thing. And I think Lance would have been okay in Florida, but he was perfect in Memphis because my two favorite wrestlings are 70s Florida and 80s Memphis for vastly different reasons. And Florida sold the sports aspect of it. And Gordon Soley was analytical. And he was like, this puts stress on the femoris muscles. And of course, those 22 movable vertebrae are feeling the impact. Harley Race using his head as a human battering ram now hurled from the ring. Like, he would be so technical. Yeah. And he would actually allow the wrestlers to put him in holds. And he would explain the scientific and psychological basis for everything that was happening. And Lance, on the other hand, the reason I love Memphis wrestling, it was a colorful cartoon come to life. Mm-hmm. And for that logic and for that market, Lance was the best because Gordon Soley can't stand out there when Jerry Lawler is going to wrestle the Frankenstein or like the Bruise Brothers are going to eat a can of dog food. It would be funny, but it wouldn't be the same. Yeah. But you got Lance and Jimmy Hart to take something so ridiculous like that and make it great. When I saw that stuff in '83, it's literally what I saw. The Bruise Brothers against maybe the Fabs or Coco and somebody in a Loser Eats Dog Food, and they made Mad Dog eat a dog food. Bobby Eaton, I think, was involved in that. And somebody had to eat the dog food, and it was really Dinty Moore, but they changed the label on it. I don't know which is worse. They're both inedible to me. But when you have Lance putting something over like that, and it's so much different than Soley would do it. And then, I mean, if you had a serious Dusty Rhodes King Curtis angle, I think Gordon could get that much better across than Lance. So
Lance would try to reason with you, like when Terry Funk, oh, come on now, Terry. Don't use that kind of language around here. Come on, Terry.
The ultimate straight man, and like was gonna get it at I
love that because he's like, It's like in Memphis, the kind of thing was like they all know each other. Like they all know each other and they all hate each other and they all have their role. Like Lance treats King a certain way and King treats Hart a certain way and Lance treats Hart a certain way. And like Lance has to put up with him, but he doesn't like him, but he doesn't come out outwardly bitter to Jimmy Hart ever. He's like, well, here it is. I guess we got to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And because those three guys maintained such heat and everything for like a 5-year run or whatever they had, and Jimmy Hart could go on Jerry Lawler's show and it would never get old. And Lawler would say like, well, I don't really like this guy, but we're going to have him on. And then it would never get old. And it was just, they would acknowledge, he's like, King, I hate you, but I have to come on your show and tell you something, baby. And it's like, they all hate each other, but the people believe they all hate each other. And it was all you needed was those guys. And so they packed so much entertainment and comedy into it because Bill Dundee would be feuding with Lawler and Lawler would be like insult Dundee's height or something, which you knew was a shoot, right. And it would be like, you knew they didn't like each other. So it's a whole different scheme than Florida, really. So I give it a tie. I honestly give it a tie.
Okay. I mean, and when you say it too, it's like it's a completely different style of wrestling. In a way, you have to have the right person for announcing for it. Yeah, because Gordon Solie was way more technical. I mean, because he did sports previously, right? Like he did something else before he did wrestling.
I believe he did auto racing,
stock car racing. I just looked it up. Yeah, because I know, because Lance was just like he was working at the news station. He was just a news.
Well, Lance was a sports reporter in Jackson, Tennessee, where he got his start. And he used to do something that a lot of the old timers did, which was he would fake announce a baseball game that he wasn't even watching. They would get like the whatever it was called at the time, the tintype, like the update on the scores or whatever. But he would just say, "Oh, it's a pop fly," whatever. He would make it up, and it would air. And that's how Lance got into it, kind of doing wrestling before wrestling.
Right.
But he was
jazzing it up. That's awesome.
Like, I'm not completely familiar with his early career, but I know it was news, sports, Jackson, radio and TV. Then he moved to Memphis. And, so yeah, the thing about Lance was he was more of a broadcaster than a wrestling personality.
Yeah. Right.
And I consider Gordon in that category too. And you could say, oh, it's so easy to say who's the best, Lance or Gordon. But think about it. Who can you even put in their category anywhere close to them? A lot of people might say Jim Ross, and I give him his kudos, especially for his preparation. I'm a big believer in preparation. Today's show notwithstanding.
But we just told you you're gonna have a conversation, and we're just talking.
Right.
Like what I'd say going into, as long as we're not like at points of just like awkward pauses and we don't know what to say.
At least you made it on time as opposed to
me. I wasn't gonna tell you out, George. I was giving that one.
I'll step up. I thought it was an hour later.
That's cool. That's cool. No, me and Jake got to know each other, and everything's Jake. Hey, that's a good name for a show. If you ever do a spinoff.
Hey, that's all right. That's a good
point. As Gordon Solie would say, everything's August, because he was a jazz guy. He was like an old, and he would say things like, "Well, if that's August with you, sir, we'll be right back." I remember there was a contract signing, and he said that to the assassin or something.
That's interesting. Howard, before I ask you about the hard way art, because I've been keeping up on that too. But what did you think when Dusty went to WWF with the polka dots and everything?
Well, that was an abomination. I mean, everything WWF did after 1985 was a slap in the face to real wrestling fans. So what can I say? I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it in a nutshell. You take every cool wrestler and give him some stupid gimmick and take they systematically removed everything I liked about wrestling piece by piece. Blood, real promos, real characters, fat people, anomalies, midgets, you name it. They took step by step. They took everything, kayfabe. So, I mean, by then I was.
Yeah, we the fans didn't know. We didn't know. We watching WWF. We saw the bushwhackers. We never knew they were the sheep herders.
I know.
I didn't
Any of
learn
this
that
stuff.
till way later. I didn't learn that till much later. And I was
Oh,
like shocked by that. Yeah, because I didn't really care for that much when I was a kid. Is like the stuff that got me as a kid initially was the Undertaker and Jake the Snake, because they were different. It was because all I was exposed to was what I could see, and like I said, my parents didn't care about it. So it was when I could catch it on cable, and see WWF on where I could. That's what I could catch when I could, and those are the ones that caught my eye the most, was Undertaker and Jake the Snake, because he didn't yell at you like everybody else. That was something different, something special.
Yeah, Jake had a great, who's that actor that he looks like? A great delivery, great gravelly delivery. But see, the other thing that's lost to time is that when Vince began his takeover, he had seasoned world traveling professional wrestlers.
Yep.
And then what happened over time is all the names that I recognized in the Observer started to become smaller and smaller, and all these people I couldn't care less about got bigger and bigger, but they all came from WWE wrestling schools, of all things. They came from a homogenized, canned, prepackaged WWE version of what wrestling is supposed to be, and that is sports entertainment. And and they just took everything away from it that I liked. And then, unfortunately, what happens in the wrestling world is, it happened in the 80s, 90s, and it's happening now, is that every other promotion, big and small, tries to keep up with WWE. That's the lesson that nobody has ever learned, because that is like trying to keep up with a billionaire. You got to do something different. That's why ECW succeeded. Because ECW is the last thing that made me a legit wrestling fan. I hung up my photographer's camera years before that, in the early 90s, I don't know, late 80s, but I liked ECW so much that I started going again as a fan, and then I started shooting again because it reinvigorated me. It was everything I liked about wrestling. Believable characters, punk environment, true violence in the air, true danger, true characters who lived it, right? Sandman, Raven, that's who those guys were. That wasn't a WWF thing. And that's what I'm talking about.
The technical ability too, when you had like Eddie Guerrero out there and Benoit and Rey Mysterio before you'd ever heard of them. Like they were great in the ring too, along with those characters. Yeah, no, you can easily say. Then it was from Heyman, who was somebody who grew up the same way you did. Who that's what he wanted. He put on what he wanted to see. I feel like
he knew. Because he knew all the good workers from my era. Yeah. And he knew. I mean, he knew it. I mean, he really was a genius.
Hide the weakness. Maximize the strength. Hide the weakness. It was perfect.
Yeah, he really was a genius, because what he did there, I mean, it was all new stars, and he developed them into characters, and that really had not been done anywhere, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Made real household names out of all these guys. Sandman, Taz, Pitbulls. I thought ECW was so good. And I call it like Raven. I think the first pay-per-view was the end of it. That's when they went corporate and it started looking different and sounding different and everything.
It's kind of like I was saying with like how everybody wants to be first and not right, and now they want to be, as opposed to the other way around. There was a point where like the stuff that you liked in the old school, it was wrestling that was on television. Vince made it television that happened to have wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And that's the difference between professional wrestling and sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Sports entertainment, we're putting on a TV show, no matter, we're just going to have wrestling here and there. And maybe we'll have it. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just have people yakking for, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Like,
it's not the same.
It's just a product of its times, like everything is, because wrestling, as we know and love it, as I knew and love it, would not be here right now, regardless, because of the internet and because because of cable and the internet and everything. It's impossible now. It's the same reason that nobody knew Rock Hudson was gay or Cary Grant wore a toupee, because you could hide anything back then. I, as a child, thought Abdullah the Butcher literally killed and ate people. And you will never have that again. No 10-year-old now. A 10-year-old will be like, oh, this is full of shit. I want to see Cena, like, whatever they told him to say about whatever's going on these days. It's all
Sure.
I mean, it's like that I'm just a Deep Purple guy in a Taylor Swift world. And,
Wow, that was deep.
I die laughing. My wife is at the movies right now watching the Taylor Swift.
Oh, God.
She's big into it. Now this is where my wife and I are great. Like she does that, and I have wrestling, and we keep it
that's cool. I mean, that's cool. You gotta have
you gotta have your own stuff. You don't have to bring them into it.
Yes. I'm a big believer in that. You gotta have like your away time and then your together time for sure.
We went to 9 Inch Nails together Monday or Tuesday of last week, and then this is great. She's got her concert, and I've got to talk about wrestling with my buddies. This is
that's totally
for both of us. Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, when you picked this day, I was like, oh, wait, that's perfect. She's leaving right before we get on, and we can just sit here and be some dudes talking wrestling. This is great. This is the best. I'm enjoying this so much.
Cool.
Howard, Hard Way Art. What is it? What's going on there? What do you have to say? Yeah.
Let's just say this for now. Let's only do a mini plug because I am well and truly getting my shit together now. Working on a bunch of projects, but it's too early to announce and I don't want to disappoint anyone. But however, if you're listening out there, you can go to Facebook and find Hard Way Art and you will see a trove of my photos, artwork, silkscreen prints, giclées, and a couple of book ideas that are in the beginning stages right now. But I have feng shuied my office and I am ready to truly work on it in a way that I have not been in previous years. So I don't want to jinx it or cry wolf, but I would expect big things in 2026, I would say. This year has been rough. I thought it was going to be this year, but I got to admit, I had some difficulties this year.
Yeah,
but,
yes, you have. I will attest to that.
But everything's August now, as we like to say in the wrestling business in Florida.
I like that. That's good. No, that's cool. I just followed you on Facebook, so I'm
cool. So do that, folks. Hard Way Art on Facebook, and that'll be the best way. And you can friend me, Howard Baum. I'm friendly to everybody.
Yes, very friendly.
Absolutely.
Anything else you have for Howard, Jake? That was my last point on my end.
No, I knew that. Yeah, I knew we were going to cover that. But no, I mean, not specifically. No, I was just enjoying having the conversations here. I didn't realize we've been going over an hour already.
Yeah, I could tell Howard's thirsty. He drank all his water earlier.
Oh, that wasn't water, my friend.
I know.
No, it was.
I was gonna say went down pretty smooth if it wasn't. No, this was great. I really enjoy. I
really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys because I talked enough that I loosened up my jaw from surgery, and that was really my main goal. So I feel like we've accomplished something good. No. In all seriousness, I really, really appreciate you guys thinking that I'm something worthy of having on your show, and I did enjoy it. And Jake, you might be young, but I think you're a really cool guy.
Appreciate that. Thank you so
much. George,
much.
Thank you so much. And I think this is the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful affiliation if I ever learn to speak the language. And onward and upward, as they say.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was great. I was happy to do this, and we'd be happy to have you again on again sometime. See, I can't speak the language either. We're all in the same boat. I always joke that we're like professionally unprofessional or unprofessionally professional, however you want to call it. We're shooting from the hip with this thing. You got anything else, George?
Howard, thank you very much, dude. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, tremendous, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. Hit like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff, and we will catch you next time. Thanks everybody. Peace.
We appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.